In August 2014, the Daesh raided the town of Sinjar in northern Iraq, which led to the persecution of the minority Yazidi group. The Daesh is a term that has been used by several world leaders, including former US President Barack Obama and current UK Prime Minister Theresa May, to refer to a terrorist organization by the name of ISIS. ISIS, also known as the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, is a jihadist militant group that follows the fundamentalist Wahhabi doctrine of Sunni Islam. However, in order to delegitimize any ISIS sovereignty claims and recognition as a state, world leaders choose to refer to the terrorist organization as the Daesh, and therefore for the purpose of this presentation, the term the Daesh will be used. When the Daesh raided the town of Sinjar, it led to the massacre of 5,000 Yazidis, followed by the sexual enslavement of 5,200 Yazidis. In order to escape the Daesh's guns, nearly 40,000 Yazidis fled to Mount Sinjar. However, later in the month of August, the Daesh militants surrounded the mountain and issued death threats to those in it, and thus essentially trapping the Yazidis in the mountain, where if they chose to escape, they would be killed by the Daesh, while if they remained in the mountain, they would face thirst and starvation and possibly death. And so today, I will be analyzing the persecution of the Yazidi people on Mount Sinjar 2014 by the Daesh. This case highlights how a key actor, the Yazidis, which are a Kurdish-speaking ethnic religious minority group located in northwest Iraq, are subjected to direct violence by another key actor in the Daesh. Direct violence is one of three parts of Galton's violence triangle and is defined as a direct or personal attack on an individual, evident in the killing of 5,000 Yazidis, the sexual enslavement of 5,200 Yazidis, and the death threats issued to an additional 40,000 Yazidis. This case also highlights the diminishing liberty of the Yazidis, where they no longer have the freedom or autonomy to move within regions of Sinjar, as well as the violation of crucial first-generation human rights, particularly Article 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which states that all individuals have the right to life, liberty, and security, regardless of race, religion, or gender. Human rights are rights that are inherent in all human beings, regardless of such external factors, and are said to be universal in that they belong to all individuals. And while many disregard the universality of human rights, it is a principle that is upheld and reflected in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Human rights are also said to be inalienable in that they cannot be taken away, and indivisible in that they are of equal importance. First-generation human rights are most commonly associated with civil and political rights and are said to be one of the most crucial set of human rights. However, one of the main factors leading to the persecution of the human rights of the Yazidis are religious factors, as the Yazidis follow a religion which has its roots in Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and Islam. However, their religion is wrongly identified by groups such as the Daesh as devil worshippers and those that worship Satan. Moreover, the Daesh's goal in the Middle East is to eradicate the region of any non-Islamic values, and thus highlighting how the manner in which the Yazidis identified themselves and identified by the Daesh has led to their persecution, and thus highlighting a global political challenge of identity, where the misinterpretation of the Yazidis' religion has led to their persecution and violation of crucial human rights. And this also highlights the case of cultural violence, which is also one of three parts of Galton's violence triangle, which occurs when people are harmed due to practices condoned by certain cultures. In this case, practices condoned by cultures such as jihadism, which dictates that non-believers such as the Yazidis must be fought. Another factor leading to the persecution of the Yazidis is the Daesh's growing power, and particularly their access to hard power. Hard power is seen as the use of force, threats, or coercion, and is evident in the Daesh's access to weaponry and ammunitions. This is largely possible due to the Daesh's control over oil-rich areas in the Middle East, and due to their control over these areas, they've been able to build a logistical network based on the sale of black market oil for ransom payments used for the purchase of weapons, later used for the persecution of such groups. The persecution of the Yazidis has led to a number of social impacts at a community level, where the Yazidis trapped in the mountain have no access to food or water and are facing thirst and starvation and possibly death. The mountain, which was earlier a place of refuge for the Yazidis, is now turning into a burial ground as families are burying their dead under rocks. This led to a number of humanitarian responses by the Iraqi government at a regional level, as they were quick to send in planes to drop food and water bottles. The United States, under the Obama administration, also displayed an international response, as they were quick to issue planes to drop food, water bottles, and other essential supplies. However, despite the humanitarian assistance being provided, death threats by the Daesh continued, leading to another 130,000 Yazidis fleeing to the Hook in the Kurdish north, or to Erbil, leading to one of the most rapid refugee movements of all times. And thus, in order to tackle the growing power of the Daesh, in November 2015, the United States, under the Obama administration, issued 40 limited airstrikes on the Daesh. With the support of these airstrikes, 7,500 Kurd forces were able to retake parts of Sinjar and rescue hundreds of Yazidis on the mountain. However, later in March 2016, the United States clearly expressed their belief on this issue, as the United States House of Representatives voted unanimously to label the persecution of the Yazidis as a genocide, and thus highlighting a universalist perspective by the United States, as they're acknowledging that all individuals should have access to the same human rights, but also highlighting a cosmopolitanism perspective, as they're accepting their obligations on individuals in different parts of the world, regardless of race, religion, or gender, by acknowledging the persecution of the Yazidis as a genocide. However, it is far easier and even far less political to accuse a non-state actor of committing a genocide rather than a state actor, as for the latter, a full humanitarian intervention under the Genocide Convention would have to be mobilized. Moreover, it is likely that by labeling the persecution of the Yazidis by the Hague as a genocide, the United States will also gather increased international support on their war on terror. And however, the support provided by the US is likely to decrease in coming times, as seen by President Trump's travel bans on Muslims and refugees from Muslim countries. It is yet to be seen whether President Trump continues the airstrikes on the Hague or even stands by the Obama administration in their recognition of this as a genocide. And thus, while the United States may still clearly see this as a case of genocide, the Hague clearly sees this as a case of purification, where they are ridding the Middle East of any non-Islamic values, and thus in the minds of the Hague, simply followers of extremist Islamic values. And this has led to growing fears within the international community of a possible full-scale genocide occurring on their watch, as recently in the United Nations Security Council, human rights lawyer Amal Clooney accused the Council of failing to stop a genocide on their watch, and thus once again highlighting a global political challenge of identity, where there could be a possibility of a genocide occurring of the Yazidis solely due to their religious beliefs, and thus highlighting one of the biggest power shifts of the 21st century, particularly from state to non-state actors, when non-state actors are capturing territory within states and leading to the persecution of innocent minority groups like the Yazidis. And thus highlighting one of the biggest challenges faced by the international community in tackling violent non-state actors, but also hindering their ability to have access to weapons, trained soldiers, or even hold them accountable for such killings. Moreover, the manner in which the international community deals with the Hague will also shape one of the biggest humanitarian disasters of our time in Syria. However, this is not the first occasion the human rights of a particular minority group have been threatened by violent non-state actors. On the night of 14 April 2014, Nigeria-based terrorist organization Boko Haram kidnapped 276 schoolgirls from a government school in Chibok, and thus highlighting the growing power of violent non-state actors, but also highlighting how politically unstable regions like Nigeria and Iraq are particularly vulnerable to attacks by violent non-state actors, and how additional measures must be taken in such regions to prevent such attacks. Moreover, this case also highlights the growing importance of third-generation human rights, which are most commonly associated with group rights, such as the rights of minority groups. Traditionally, third-generation human rights are considered to be inferior to first-generation rights, as they are believed to be vague, diminishing in moral self-worth, and criticized by many of being unnecessary, as they believe that when individual rights are taken care of, so are group rights. However, seeing as the rights of a particular minority group in the Yazidis are in question, this case also highlights the growing importance of third-generation human rights, as well as the need for a universalist perspective to be taken on human rights, where universalists would argue that all individuals should have access to the same human rights, and human rights should not be bound by culture. Now, while many might argue that the Haitian persecution of the Yazidis represents a clear denial of basic human rights, a cultural relativist approach must also be taken to this issue. The Week is the Haitian newsletter, which was first published in July 2014 and has since published 15 copies. It is used as a propaganda and recruitment tool. However, today it remains the closest insight we can possibly have into the minds of the Haitian. While this perspective is extremely difficult to analyze due to its difficulty to acquire and process, it is one that is extremely crucial to our understanding of this case study. Reading the Beak, we can learn that the Haitian soldiers truly believe in the values of extremist Islamic theocracy and jihadism, which dictates that non-believers such as the Yazidis must be fought, and thus perhaps justifying the persecution of the Yazidis in the minds of the Haitian and highlighting a cultural relativist approach due to their total belief in this particular ideology. And thus this case study highlights one of the biggest political challenges faced by the international community, and highlights the need for states to work together to tackle violent non-state actors, as well as end the persecution of innocent minority groups like the Yazidis, but also work together to tackle the core values and beliefs of jihadism that have led to the persecution of innocent minority groups like the Yazidis. Thank you.